Welcome to this daily guided meditation practice. This is the Attentive Mind. My name is Nathan and I'll be guiding you through this meditation practice today. Find yourself a seated position. Any position works. Really, you just want to find something sturdy and comfortable. You don't want to be moving around too much during the practice, and you also don't want to feel like you're about to fall over. So, sturdiness is good. Comfortability is good. Sitting in a chair works. You can even lie down. Just find what works for you. We also keep our eyes open during this practice, but this is a personal preference. It comes from my training in Zen, but you can definitely close your eyes if you'd like to. There are no hindrances here. But if your eyes are open, go ahead and just leave the screen alone and drop them gently down below you, kind of looking at the floor or the carpet, the desk, whatever's just below you. We're not staring or analyzing anything, but we're also not blurry and zoned out. We just have a nice, gentle, light, clear gaze directed softly downwards. You're in a nice, comfortable position. Your eyes are preferably open and down. We aren't doing something here. We're not achieving anything. And whatever reason you clicked on this video to start this practice, forget it. Forget your intentions or any thought of becoming better with meditation. In fact, forget the idea of meditation altogether. It won't help you. There's just this moment. So why do we struggle? Why is there conflict? Can you just sit here without struggling? And already maybe you feel agitated, or you were thinking about what you're going to eat for dinner. Something distracted from this moment. And that's where the struggle lies. Being continuously lost in thinking. But the truth is, we can't stop thinking. Or rather, thinking happens by itself. And it doesn't stop, in the same way that our heartbeat happens by itself. And it doesn't stop. So really, the effort to stop thinking is useless. Forget it. But we can leave thinking alone. Just like the sound of cicadas in the trees outside your window, or the rustling and sound of cars outside. You don't have to pay attention to it too strongly. You could just leave it alone. And an easy way to leave our thoughts alone is to simply bring our attention to something else, something completely present. And that, of course, is the breath. It happens now. And when we bring our attention to it, we can only pay attention to it now. Now, without forcing, without any strong effort, gently notice the lower belly, the area below the belly button and above the groin. Just notice it. There's a rhythm going on here. A rhythm created by the movement of the breath. And just as an experiment, see how long you can pay attention to this rhythm without getting lost in thought. Am I catching you thinking again? It's amazing how quickly we get distracted from something so simple. But that's okay. It takes a bit of practice to come back to breathing. So when you notice that you're lost, thinking about this, worried about that, just return to the breath in the lower belly. And don't turn off your thoughts. Don't push them away and don't ignore them. While the thought is happening, notice the breath. In other words, let your mind think what it wants to. Remain with breathing. And do this as effortlessly, gently, and relaxed as you can. Come back. Lower belly. Rising and falling. Return to the breath. Rising and falling. Stop planning. Return to the breath. Notice how it feels that you somehow sit above your breath, directing attention downwards. Somehow your breath is below you and you're above it, directing attention down. And from the same place, the thing that pays attention to the breath then gets lost in thought. But it seems to happen all up above, between your shoulders, behind your eyes. What's actually there? Are you more in your head than you are in your foot? In the same way you found the breath, find what finds the breath. Look for the looker. What sat down today and decided to listen to this video? What are you? And don't answer this with words or language. What are you really? Find it. Look for the looker. What is discovered? Wake up. Leave the thought alone. Inquire, what was lost in thought? What are thoughts talking to? Look carefully. All right, you can look at the screen. You know, there's two camps to this whole meditation thing. And traditionally, it's called the direct path or the long path, you know? And during our practices, I try to show you both. At the end, of course, to look for the looker. What sees this now? What are you? That's a direct path. You can immediately wake up from this dream if you just look for what is looking. What sees this? What feels to be listening? Is there something there? Or now you either understand that or you don't. And for most people, it requires a bit of mindfulness. What is called basically mindfulness is just being able to pay attention to what you notice, rather than being lost in discursive thinking. In fact, neurologically, it's called the default mode network. It's when we're not paying attention to a specific task, we're ruminating about things. We're worried about this, got to do that. I wonder if I got to eat the dinner. It's just this constant kind of default state of thinking. But when you pay attention to something, like you're playing a video game, or you're doing sports, or you're doing something great, boom, you're right there. So because we're so used to just this default mode network, it takes some practice to leave it alone, leave the thoughts alone, and come back to this. Then with that, we can turn and look. So that's kind of the way I practice. So I tell people, and I encourage it, and this is the way I learn, to actually practice every day. To do it. To sit and do it. I spent many years just thinking about meditation, thinking about non-duality. You hear these non-dual teachers online. You'll see them. They'll talk about, well, what is it that does this? And you just kind of look. It makes you feel good for 10 minutes. Maybe even a couple of days, but then you're back to it. Practice gives you this anchor. Daily practice gives you this anchor. And there's an important point here. You can't practice when you feel like doing it. Life happens out of nowhere. Things go wrong at any time. Things go right at any time. But don't rely on motivation to practice. Practice now, daily. This is the definition, I think, of discipline. It's doing it regardless of how you feel. So pick a time and do it. And I would suggest doing it on your own and not to rely on words like these videos that I post. Do it on your own. Take these videos, learn from them, and then go on your own. Do it in a room alone. Do it for days if you can. But don't rely on these videos. These are just to show you what to do, how to practice. They are not so much the practice themselves. Don't be fooled by, well, I guess you can call it spiritual cherry picking, just finding good videos online all the time, just feeling good and just watching and learning more about the spiritual world, and then, oh, that's so cool, and then, oh, Eckhart Tolle, and then what about Joseph Goldstein, and then what about Nathan, and then what about, blah, 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 and you just gather all these things. Just practice. It's not about feeling good. I did this for years, and I'm just trying to warn you against it. Practice is key, and it requires discipline. Watching YouTube videos won't help you. Thank you for showing up today, y'all. Thank you for showing up for your life. And as always, I'll see you tomorrow.